My name is Timo. I'm an IASIS runner for cross country and athletics, and I've won a couple of medals. But I'm not fast. I know this sounds weird to say, but please hear me out. Long distance running refers to foot races ranging from 3,000 meters to 5,000 to 10,000, all the way up to the marathon. I started running, you could say, in 3rd grade. When I was aged 8, I ran my first ever 5K. A 5K would be around 12 and a half laps and on the track. I continued to run after that first 5K because I enjoyed it. I genuinely did. Running to me now has become a metaphor for life. As weird as this sounds, it taught me that there is no such thing as perfection. There is only improvement. Since my first 5-kilometer race, aged 8, I've grown more and more fond of long-distance running. My desire to become a better runner increased. I wanted to become faster and faster. And in middle school, running really started to feel like it was my craft, something that I will evolve for as long as I can. Perhaps I love long-distance running so much because of the immense feeling of pride. I was so proud to say that I ran a 6-minute mile in 6th grade. What do you think of that? That is fast. Or at least, that's what I thought. In the summer of 8th grade, I aspired to run an under 20-minute 5K. That is so fast. Or at least, that's what I thought. Why am I repeating the phrase, that's what I thought? Well, I was wrong. Is a 5K in under 20 minutes really fast? Relative to whom? That is why I stand in front of you here today to discuss the limits of the personal experience bubble from an athletic perspective. That's me, by the way. This is a photo of the 2014 varsity cross-country team when I was still a little freshman. I've participated in cross-country ever since. In my freshman and sophomore year, I had the privilege of running with one of my best and dearest friends, Ernest Beth IV, nicknamed EB. He's the guy with the flaming red hair on the right. Amazing hair. I had the privilege because he taught me so many things. He was such an amazing runner that surfaced JIS, and one of the fastest as well. He would zoom around the track so fast, while the entire team would be 200, even 300 meters behind him in all of the workouts. His speed also showed in his races. All of his 5K times for the races around this campus were entire minutes faster than the second person on the team. His times were truly sensational, and he was truly a great runner for JIS. At IASIS Cross Country 2014, he won the individual 5K race at 16 minutes and 51 seconds, one of the fastest times in history. This was truly an amazing time. That same year in IASIS track, he won the 3,000 meter at IASIS track and field in Singapore with a time of 9 minutes and 17 seconds. He beat the IASIS record, and that record still stands today. EB was a huge inspiration to me and shaped many of my own running endeavors, whether it's his running, his persona, everything. He was truly a great person. I thought that if I was going to be better than EB, I would really be at the top. I would win all of the races and be one of the fastest kids in the world. That's what I wanted to do. But now I realize I had this oblivious perception of the limits of what a high school runner can do, or really lack thereof, until one summer, my perception changed. In the summer of 2016, after sophomore year, I traveled to the United States for the very first time to participate in a camp called Team Prep USA. It is an elite running camp, but why is it an elite running camp? Well, it is an elite running camp because of the application process. I had to submit 3 letters of recommendation from both of my teachers and coaches about my level of motivation and my running, and I also had to send all of my best times in all of my races. I was really, really happy I got in, but a little surprised that I was one of the slowest guys there, if not the slowest in the United States. I wasn't really disappointed. I was just surprised. If anything, I felt motivated to be just like them. The camp lasted about 20 days for me, but after the 7th day, I was already so tired. We ran around twice a day, and it was really the people that I met over there that changed my perception of running. There were people that didn't even win in their own respective conferences, but are already much faster than the fastest person I knew in Southeast Asia, EB. Tanner Chada, for example. He has a 15-minute and 2-second 3-mile, which is around a 4.8K, so around 5K in my vision. I was so amazed by this time when he said this to me. I was like, wow, how is this possible? This is amazing. This is almost 2 minutes faster than EB's personal 5K record. But what was even more amazing was a freshman that I met at that camp. His name was Caleb Futter, and his time for the 5K personal best was 16 minutes and 7 seconds. But the kicker is that he was only a freshman at that time. 14 years old, not 17. So he had 3 more years to go to improve. These personal bests that I heard were simply mind-blowing. They were amazing. After this experience, there was this whole paradigm shift, again, in what I thought about the limits of a high school long-distance athlete were. Drew Hunter is an athlete from Virginia, a 2016 graduate, who ran at the NFHS conference at the Camel Elite City Meet, running the 3,000-meter race. He won that race with a time of 7 minutes and 59 seconds. He beat the NFHS record with that time. 7 minutes and 59 seconds is almost 2 minutes faster than EB's 3K record. A race that is actually not the longest race in long distance running, as I said, as it can go up all the way up to the marathon. But let's look at this visually. What does this look like, this time difference? Well, the blue runner is Drew and the green runner is EB. Now let's look at them both running side by side as if they ran that same race. So when Drew finishes his race, EB still had an entire lap to go. EB essentially got lapped in a race of only 3,000 meters, as aforementioned, a short long-distance race in the realm of long-distance running. A 3,000-meter race is one that encompasses strength and speed, and not really pure endurance like a marathon would. One would ask, well, why is it that these two times are so different? Why is it that Drew has a 7:59? And why is it that EB has a 9:17? Well, on the surface, one could just say, well, Drew, he's a faster runner, he's more talented, he has more physical ability, which it's true, but there's more to that answer. The question of how do I become a better runner has infinite variables. It's the sleeping, the running itself, of course, the diet, your relationship with your coach and teammates, all of those factors yield a superior athlete. But what is the root reasons? What are the root reasons to why the difference is in these two competitive pools, one in Southeast Asia and one in the United States? The first main reason to the difference in the competitive pools is the training schedule. At IASA schools, the training is treated as an extracurricular activity that is done after school. On the contrary, the American athletes that I was talking to train twice a day, not once a day like we do. The implication of this is also that they have this running class instead of maybe math class, for example. So Tanner, he can be in running class and first period while his classmate, for example, is in math. This is simply unheard of at IASA schools. At IASA schools, we do our academics, and then after school, we do our training. In the US running culture, there's that integration between sports and academics that simply delves more into the development of the athlete. The second main reason is the coaches. To be specific, the requirements of the coaches. The American athletes that I was talking to have coaches that require running logs from them. What is a running log? It's a book that has all of your times of all of your races, of all of your personal bests, and everything you did. Everything in running you did, with your coach, with your teammates, everything. And that running log is turned in on a Sunday to the coach for them to evaluate, to read, and then give feedback to that athlete. This is not something that is in IASA schools. And there's again that integration between the sports and academics, because this report card is the running log. For these athletes, the running log acts as a report card, like their grade or something. And it truly motivates them to do better as they're constantly reflecting on their own times. The third and final reason to why these two competitive pools are so different is the seasons. The US athletes simply train year-round. The first season they have is the cross-country season. The second season they have is the indoor track season, and then they have the outdoor track season. For the IASA schools, there's no long-distance running season between the end of cross-country and the beginning of outdoor track. So one could say that because they always keep training these American athletes, even during the long-distance training season, that is the indoor track, they keep on improving with the guidance of their coach. Whereas IASA's athletes, although they may do off-season training, it is that lack of the guidance from the coach that perhaps pauses their ability or could even deteriorate their ability. So while the US athletes might be in long-distance season that is indoor track, the IASA's athletes might be doing their off-season or not even training at all due to their academic requirements. What is the implication of this entire difference in the competitive pools? Why am I talking about this? One must always learn that there is something more to strive for. Something beyond your local experience bubble. In the words of Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish. You should never be satisfied with what you've achieved. Sure, you might be the fastest in your own region, but are you really on the top? One should always know that there are better calibers to work towards. Whether you are a musician, whether you are a teacher, an investor, or an athlete, know that there is always something better. Humans have the innate belief that we are better than we actually are, that we are always at our limit, or even have one. This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias in which we think that we are better than we actually are. With that being said, I urge you to look at the possibilities of your abilities. Go explore different places where you might not be the best one there and where improvement will foster. Expand your limits. Expand your personal experience bubble. There's always something better to strive for. Thank you.